Let's enjoy the beautiful dormancy of winter and make a winter journal together. In our last video, we constructed the cover and picked our book pages. And in today's video together, we will arrange the pages and stitch them in using a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Here are my 3 signatures, and I've made signature covers for each signature. And here's a quick flip through of how I arranged my pages. I like to sort of alternate pages that are neutral and not busy with pages that have more going on, more imagery, more busy, and alternate. Here I'm just showing you, I'm covering that up later on because I don't feel it looks very winter to me. It looks more autumn. So, but I did want the back of that page, which was a gorgeous winter scene of a very formal garden. And I like to arrange my signatures in the same manner. In the middle, I put one with imagery, and that was more busy. And then I kind of sandwich it with plainer signature covers on the front and the back. And when you have book pages that are long or wide or tall, don't feel like you have to box yourself in and trim everything to size. If you don't mind things getting tattered or frayed or ripped as you use your journal and tuck it in and out of your bag, leave some of your pages longer, sticking out, and I feel like it gives character and interest. And if you are a tactile person, you probably would appreciate all the things to feel and touch, like I do. But anyhow, here I'm showing you a book page that I have that was too wide, but I flipped in the sides to create pockets. Actually, they won't really be pockets because I wanted to open it up and really see this full spread as a center of one of the signatures. I personally am a gardener, and I love planting my vegetable and cut flower garden in the winter for the upcoming season. It's such a lovely thing to do on a snowy day, just to sit at your kitchen window, look outside, especially if you can see where your garden is, and start drawing. Maybe flip through seed catalogs, get your inspiration going. I can even smell, when I'm sitting there doing that, I can smell flowers. I can smell the seductive scent of a tomato. And it's just a lovely winter thing to do. So I'm just showing you the whole arranging of the pages here. Well, the arrangement of the pages and my process of, my thought process of doing it. And basically I just kind of try to balance as I go. I try to use things that aren't busy and then things that are, and colors that flow, things that speak to each other. Make sure I have writing space. So now we're going to start to sew in our signatures, and first we're going to use this thing called a crocodile, and it punches holes in thick, heavy weight material, and it also has measurement guides and can go in quite far. You don't need this tool. I'm also going to show you later how you can use a simple hand tool called an awl, and it's spelled A-W-L, and it's pronounced awl. And I know of it from my husband, who actually works for an insurance company, but he's also a carpenter for us in our home, and he's quite the detailed master at it. So anyway, I've stolen his awl and it's made its way into my crafting studio. But so what I'm doing here is just taking a permanent marker, and I want to let you know you can be very formal with this and you can measure. You can find plenty of other videos that will teach you that. I'm really not about that. I'm really good with my eye, and even if I make a little bit that's not good with my eye here, I'll adjust for it when I go to punch my hole. So it is good with my eye and even. And so, but if you want measurements, please find a video. There's tons of them on 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I'm sure many don't give you measurements. They're probably like me, and I'm sure many give you very detailed measurements. But if I had to guess here, I would go down about an inch from the top and from the bottom. And then I would center my hole if you're doing 3 signatures. After I center my hole, then I would go over a 1/4 of an inch to the right and then a 1/4 of an inch to the left of the center and make my next holes so that there'd be 3 and they'd all be spaced evenly. That's what I do. As far as the middle one, depending on the height of your book, you can then figure out what the center of it would be by some simple math and then make your holes that way. So there you go. There's also some measuring tips for you. So now what you want to do is take some paper clips or these little bull clips and make sure your signature is the way you want it when it's sewn into your book, like when it's permanent. And also you want to make sure and take your fingers and kind of tuck it into the V part, like the valley part of the signature. Give it a good little push down tuck. Make sure all your pages are down there, and then bind it with the clips. Okay, and then now it's going to all get in the way you want it to and not be wonky later on as a surprise when you're done sewing. So I like to use sometimes embroidery floss, but in this case I'm using some leather thread, and it's a waxed thread. It's really nice. It's very stiff. It's ties really well. It stays tight. It stays tied. It's just a nice product overall. And I like the naturalness of it because I'm a natural girl. And here we go with the awl. Now I'm showing you, you did not have to use the crocodile. You could have used the awl. And if you do use an awl, you're probably going to want to put like a book that you don't want anymore underneath, or a thick sponge or something like this, because or some really thick cardboard, because you don't want to damage your surface beneath as you poke through. But here I'm only using my awl to poke through paper, my signatures, so I don't feel that I need this protective surface. But if you do, by all means, please get yourself one. And I'm just sort of lining up my pages here to exactly where my holes will be, and then piercing my hole with the awl, slowly, carefully, twisting back and forth. It really helps if you just don't push straight, but you also twist back and forth while simultaneously pushing through. It, if for some reason, is easier and helps. And then I just, I do this here with my fingers to support, and just gently, slowly go through until it comes through, and then pull it out. Now it's important to line up your holes so that as you continue to make the rest of your holes, they will line up with the ones you've already made above. And once you get them all poked through, you're ready to thread your needle and start sewing. So for this type of waxed thread, I used an upholstery needle with like a very large eye so that the wax thread could fit through the eye. And your awl needs to be, just keep in mind that your awl, the circumference of it needs to be able, whatever you choose for your thread, it just, and your needle, just keep in mind to make your hole large enough for your needle and your thread to pass through comfortably. Sometimes my holes are smaller and I choose bulky thread and or a large needle, and then halfway through I'm like, why did you do that? You're struggling to push this through this hole because it's really tight, and it starts to take a little bit of the fun away. So if you keep things like that in mind, it really helps keep this a tool of relaxation and an outlet for fun and just to just, you know, relax and take life down a notch and enjoy. So that's one of my tips for that. So after you come in from the spine on the bottom, you pull up your thread. And I also forgot to mention your thread should be 3 times as long as your book. I made mine longer because I'm going to want to put beads and things on the ends of my thread. So you could make it longer if you want to do that. But anyhow, after you come back up from there, then you go up to the top. You go through like I have done right here. I'm just sort of making sure my tension is tight everywhere. And now you go right back in from where you began in the middle. And you pull it up through. And here I wanted to mention you can also if you're concerned or if you have pages of a lot of different sizes, like small ones, you could do a 5-hole stitch so that you can make sure that they're all in there securely and not rocking and rolling later on. Also, you can sort of put the needle through one page at a time, and I'm going to show you that just because sometimes I don't know, sometimes I feel insecure and I just want to make sure I've gotten every page through the needle. It can happen where you're done sewing and you've tied everything off and now you start flipping through the book and you've missed, you know, one of the pages. So what I'm doing is checking here to make sure my needle and thread have gone through each individual hole of each individual page. And yuppers, it did. So I pull it through and can tie a knot now. Sometimes I just tie whatever. Other times I tie a square knot. And I love a square knot. I learned a square knot on a farm. I used to work on a farm, a vegetable and cut flower farm. And the owner taught me how to grow, like he had acres and acres of corn, and I would go out there and like pick the corn with him, and then later on cut down and you know, make the corn stalks for autumn decoration and stuff. And that's when I learned how to tie a square knot. When we would cut them down, we had twine right there in the tractor, and we would tie square knots around a bundle of like 10 or 12 stalks and throw them on the bed of the tractor and then keep driving and keep doing it. And I guess the square knot, in this farmer's opinion, was a heavy-duty knot that just doesn't come untied that easily on its own from, you know, use. So yeah, a square knot I do. So now I take the clips off and then I use them for the next signature. And that way you don't feel like you have to own like a ton of stuff if you just kind of think about things that way. You know, you can sort of pick up these little tips and things. So if you own a bone folder or a butter knife or the back of your scissors or whatever, sometimes if my pages feel a little thick or they're thick cardstock or whatever, I'll give them an extra press down with the bone folder just to give them the nice broken fibers to make my journal lay a little bit more flat. So there we go. That's what it looks like at this stage right now. You can leave your stitching exposed on your spine. You don't have to cover it with anything. You can get super decorative and cover the whole book. But if you've seen the other video, I absolutely love this book and do not want to hide it. So I'm going to leave a lot of it exposed. But I am going to cover up a little bit of the spine, but in a transparent way, because I love the gold, but I didn't love what the title said. So here I'm flipping through now just so you can see everything all stitched in and how the pages flow. There's that pretty winter garden that for some reason I love so much. I'll probably end up covering that too. Just looks more autumn to me. So yeah, I'm going to use a lot of soft, dreamy colors in this one, I think. And I think I will use some pastel color though, not just all creams and whites. I think I will use some pastel, maybe mint greens, and some colors that go with these salt dyed pages. There's a little pocket there. Here's another center garden that I'm gonna plan out. My garden this winter. Can't wait to do that. So far it's been odd and just rain here. I'm hoping for snow. It's not normal to just have rain for us right now. There's lots of pretty dreamy old book pages and pretty scrapbook papers and parchment papers, ambery yellow book pages, cooking pages. I always love to cook in the winter and bake especially. And here's a pretty bird, and it also came with a song, like musical notes. I just love the way these came out. And the color is just so pretty to me. And I love the ambering on the ends, you know, all the edges of the old book pages. And the eco dyed cloth is what I chose for the inside of the cover. It's all on the last video in case you haven't seen it. I'm constructing the cover. So here's a card I deconstructed that I'm going to end up using for the cover, but I'm not sure what I want to do for the center of it yet. I might want to paint something or draw something. I don't know, or maybe a special brooch or a frame, or I'm really uncertain, so I'm going to reflect on it. But I know I love this lace, and I love the lace itself. I also love the fact that it's transparent, and I cannot read the title of the book, but I can still see the beautiful sort of gilded gold that it has. It's probably not coming too well through on the camera, but in person, if you were with me in my kitchen, you could see it. So yeah, I'm going to glue the lace down for sure. And the cover, that's going to make its way on the cover. I know it will. I just don't know how yet. But here I'm going to start showing you some things I've been collecting that I thought could be fun for the journal. I picked this little pencil kit up years ago, and I love the little packaging, so I'm going to use the packaging in the journal. I love to use greeting cards in my journals. I love that one because around here we tap maples for maple syrup around March, and March is winter for us. And that was a little drawing of a maple syrup bucket hanging from a tapped tree. I'll probably be using some stamps that reflect winter. We do have moose around here, so that's why I chose that one. I love this stencil. It sort of resembles like a folk art snowflake, if you will. And I love both of those things. Why not put them together? I may end up using some of these digital labels I printed out and will fussy cut. Here's some labels made out of craft material that are actually stickers. If you want to be, like, if you're more into just like slipping your shoes on and not tying them, if you know what I mean. If you're one of those, use stickers. Don't worry about fussy cutting. So here's some more pretty stamps. I love a scrolly, like a French script, or I love anything French. And I love these gems. They're in an emerald cut, and they look classy. They look winter. They look crystally. You know, when the ice forms in a certain temperature, it makes that crystal when the sun hits. out on the branches. There was some gold washi tape. Here's some, if you have any kind of inks, they don't have to be oxides. In fact, permanent inks are better because anytime you get oxide inks wet again, like later on, they can react. So permanent inks are better, but I'm just going to use oxide inks. It's just for me. Here's just a piece of packaging from ribbon that I'm going to use to make marks with and paint. Here's some inexpensive craft paints, and I love the colors for the winter. And you'll need things like scissors, maybe a stapler. Here's some other inks and things, some permanent ink, some gold metallic inks, and you'll need glue. And then if you can find some lace in scrap papers, ephemera, this is some embossing paste. You can use household spackle. If you have one of these foam daubers to use with your inks, that's great. A knife or a palette knife, whatever. Just a regular kitchen knife. An X-Acto knife, a hole punch, blending brushes if you have them. You don't need these things, but they're helpful. And it makes your journal a little bit more fancier and more interactive. Or keep it simple in just a writing journal. Next, we'll decorate together. Thank you. Bye.